Star Trek.
Those were just beautiful, poignant performances. It's almost hard for me to believe that that's your first feature film. When you signed on, I mean, was there an element of terror, like, can I do this? Or were you pretty confident that you could really nail these characters?
You know, I'm pretty confident in everything that I do. Like, I'm not nervous before interviews or anything like that. Or even like, you know what? No, that's a lie. I can't even lie to you guys.
Ooh, thank God, girl. I was gonna be like, I don't know about you. I'm sorry.
Well, I just did another movie like the week before last, and I was nervous, not about the performance, but more of the voice of the character, because she has a very distinct voice like this. So I had to talk like that the whole film, and I was very nervous because I was like, I don't sound like that. My voice is much lower and sexier. I like to believe that my voice is sexy when I'm talking.
What was most important for you to get the performances and the street life? Because I was just talking to Sean, the locations I thought were key. It was great to see those locations. And I walk those locations all the time because I'm like on the phone walking and talking. I'll go by Joan at time and I'll just keep going. But it's interesting to see that, and I think people around the world will want to go to these locations now. And I think that's great because it's an excellent movie.
I like the locations, like just the setting of it. I think it was important that they used the proper setting more than anything else. And I think it's just cool that it does give like people an idea of, like, you know, this group or this group of or this gender. I'm trying to figure out a way to like say like gender without sounding weird or like sounding like I'm excluding myself because I'm part of being the trans community. You know what I mean? And the area of where some of that community locates and how they might be living. So when people do go see that, they'll see how life imitate art as far as that when it went. And they would see that it was more, like, you know, as realistic as Sean could make it for the film. So that's what I liked about that.
Repeat your question again. I got so lost.
We're talking about the locations and putting Santa Monica and Highland on the map and everything. And what was most important for you two to have the characters come out? What was really the important aspects of getting everything right?
Well, you know, we had been around all those people for quite some time, so it really wasn't hard to act like the scenery, I guess you could say. Like, it was very important for many reasons. I guess I have to go ahead and throw this in. If you notice the stories about transgender street workers, and that's what most of that area consists of. And me personally, I had applied for 186 jobs in 1 month, and I was doing, I think, roughly 26 to 27 interviews in 1 month. I did 3 interviews a day on the bus all by myself, and I didn't get not one job. And I actually caught people discriminating against me just because I'm trans. Not so much of the way I look, of course, but, you know, to see my ID and still see that it says Jeremiah instead of Maya. They catch on to it and they never hire me. So it leads to a lot of transgender girls doing street work. And I guess that's kind of what I want people to see with this movie too. Also, you know, with the humor and everything, but it's very, very serious.
I love that it comes out at a perfect time too. Laverne Cox is doing amazing work on Orange is the New Black. There's Caitlyn Jenner who's bringing up this whole new world for people. And now this movie, which, like you said, has this great comedy, but it's also this story that people really need to see. And I love that, you know, a lot of people are going to see it because it's the iPhone movie. It was shot on an iPhone, so now you're going to get all these new eyes on this story that people really need to know. What do you hope that people get out of it when they see the film? What do you want them to feel when they leave?
Well, I want, like, a lot of people to know, well, a lot of trans people or, you know, people who can relate to us to know that they're not alone. So, mainly, that's the biggest thing.
I want them to get an understanding of this, the community of the trans community and a small part of who we are. Not the large part, because that's not who the trans community is.
Exactly.
But it's a realization of some things that people go through. And one thing I also wish people would get from it is, like, if they see something that they don't like, they'll change it. You get it? Like, they'll watch something and think, like, you know, I could be opposite. We don't all have to be what people think that we're supposed to be just because we choose to live our life any kind of way. not just being trans, not just being anything. Because for us, it will be trans, being minorities, being anything like that. And it's just like, that's a blessing to have an opportunity to not only be trans, but be trans and minority. And then you get to experience that and show people a different side of the world or life from that point of view. And that's why I thought was really, really important and what I really want people to get.
Yeah, and it's very important for that area. That area is very iconic. Let's just say it. It's very iconic. And because I've seen so many people come and go, I've seen so many people fighting for their lives in that area, or even a few people to get killed in that area. And it makes you wonder, okay, why were they out here doing this? I just told you why. So,
were many of the people in the film actually people that do work in that area?
well, every person that appeared in the film was not necessarily a sex worker. I mean, we're not even sex workers, but there were a few. Of course, I'm not going to say any names. That's shady. Yeah, there were a few.
You two have obviously seen the film. What are your thoughts?
I thought it was funny. I really did. But, I know the story behind it, why we made it and everything.
I think that it was beautifully edited, and Sean puts in like a stream all the way to like the poignant thought of everything he's going to do to put in the film. It's like, oh my gosh, you just want it to be so accurate all the way to like the emotion. It's like, no, we can't stop shooting this shot until your character conveys this emotion that I want. When they get up and storm out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just walking to a beat. Like, it's that important. But then later on, like when you see it, like the magic of it, like it's called movie magic later, and you see why directors or writers or anybody have those ideal, like the ideas that they have for wanting people to act a certain way in a film, or wanting the characters to be a certain way, or why they hire people, and you see why it makes sense. Those why those films do so good, or why even if they're like no matter what level they get into it, when you have that much passion and everybody in that team has that much passion, you see why people do the things they do, why people make the decisions that they make, why they pick the people that they pick, and you're just like, you're just in awe of it. Like, gosh, it's just really, really, it really, really impresses me that people have that much talent.
This was one of the most buzzed about movies at Sundance, and I was just wondering if you had any expectation that this film was going to be so successful and so busy.
Not at all. Not at all. I thought I was just going to be doing just a regular project. I had no idea that it was going to be this. While I was sitting in the courtyard, I saw Sean and Chris Bergosh approaching many other people other than me. Mm-hmm. And they were being so shady and so mean. Oh, well, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Because they can sort of act like that in that area. And then he came to me, and I was very, very sweet to him, because I naturally am a very, very sweet person. And I feel like being sweet gets you a long way. And here I am today. So, sucks for them.
Did you think this movie was going to get made at all?
Well, I knew it was going to be made because Sean gave me 2 of his DVDs, Prince of Broadway and Starlight. Exactly. So I knew that he was legit. So I knew it was going to be made, but I never knew that it was going to be what it is today.
Kiki, are you hooked now? Is acting what you want to mostly pursue?
You don't know my little secret. My little secret, I could have been doing it in school, and I did musical theater for 1 semester in college because I was majoring in psychology. I was majoring in psychology, or most I can. And my musical theater is more I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I was working at a job, and I was just why do these people make more money? They're well, they went to school and they got their degree. And I was just complaining about it. They were just well, it's not you can't go to college. And I stopped and I thought about it, and I was just oh, wait a minute, you have a good point, I can't. And then from there on out, I stopped being a hypocrite. So I did the opposite of everything I would complain about. So I went to college. So I always had an acting bug. But I didn't want to tell anybody that, because I was just stuff like this would happen every day. I don't believe it, everything would happen. We would have filmed the whole movie, I would have got paid. I would have been gosh, Ashton Kutcher is somewhere. This ain't real. I was just I was on my way to 7-Eleven, she pulls me, this girl, they're gagging me. This is just all, you know what I mean? And it's just, I think I'll always be that way. It's the way that my life played out, being being minority and being trans, I hate to say it, it's just some stereotypes, unfortunately, for some people. You get that unbelievable no hope at one sense in your life, and then when you do get hope, it's hard to believe that it was there. And then when it is there, you're just like, you know it's there and you can't really fathom it. And now that I can kind of grasp all of it, I don't want to grasp all of it. So I always have that humble state of mind of, no, there would never be more, because I don't want to be here, because all you're going to do is fall here. So I want to be here.
Well, having been part of the process of the movie, of course, starring in it and seeing, seeing it afterwards and seeing the final cut, do you think the story in the film, how or if the story sort of comments on love versus lust in Los Angeles?
Go ahead and answer.
I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think my character was doing nothing less worthy. I think she was just more like, bam, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I think there's an interesting dynamic of love in the trans community. There's an interesting way that we perceive love, and that I feel like sometimes when we get into relationships, the people that we choose to be with perceive us. And then when you're in that general area where the locations where they filmed it at, there's an interesting way that people have their idea of love, and then some of it also sometimes is based off a stereotype. You know what I mean? And so some people like me when I was younger, I'll be honest, I'm telling everybody this, I don't really go to me for this. I'm a goody two-shoe. You would be surprised at how much of a goody two-shoe I am. But I don't really portray that normally because I have an outgoing personality, but the reason why I'm like that is because when I was younger, dealing with love and being trans, I had guys that were just like, I don't know what to do because there's gay, they're straight, and then what do we do with you? Like, I don't want to hold your hand, might be too gay. Don't kiss me, might be too gay. And I was just like, oh, I guess that, doing other things, that must be love. And then one day I told myself, I talked back to myself what I was doing, and I just said, that doesn't sound right. I should be not being treated that way. I should be being treated the way that they would treat anybody else if I'm striving to be like that. And then that's what changed my mind frame and started turning me into, more of a goody two-shoes kind of. I took out on here and things. I never had tattoos, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna be this, whatever. And that's our thought process, especially if you don't live in an area like this where it's more trans, where there's more trans women or more people, more guys who like the trans women out here, you ended up not really knowing how to handle relationships, those situations. You think it's all about, you just think it's all about whatever somebody would tell you to make you feel like you fit or belong. Because at the end of the day, anybody who's categorized in an unnorm towards society, society doesn't think it's normal to be in this category, or ostracized, as they might call it, you feel like, you start feeling like you can't do nothing but what the person who you're trying to convey something or get something from will give you. So you just follow off of that. And that's not always right. You should always know that there's always better. There's always a maturity level that you should have. There's always ladylike characteristics if you're choosing to live your life, or if you are that way, or if you're born that way, or any way you perceive it. You know what I mean? And the world doesn't end when you have to fit in this category. So it's hard to say that. It's a weird experience for girls like us, but heck, at least I made one through a couple. I made some relationships through a couple of years. So I'm just like, thank God I did that, and I could live to say it. Because some people don't even get to have relationships or love and stuff. It's just really, really important. As far as sex goes, gosh. Well, Maya. No, I was just kidding.
I love that the movie's really funny, but then there's that really touching scene of when she gets the soda thrown in her face, or something thrown in her face, and the wig.
That was not soda. That was.
Oh wait, hold on, girl. And I'm actually saying the touching scene.
I cried in that scene because I thought it was beautiful in that, and Sean was talking about how brave both of you were in that scene and really going for it. Mm-hmm. So can you talk to us about that scene? Because I know it had to be hard to do.
We're talking about the last scene of the movie with the hair.
Yeah.
You guys are so cruel.
I'm sorry, I have to. I literally cried because it was such a beautiful scene.
Well, you know what? Sean, he brought the idea to us, and immediately we said, hell no.
Yes.
Because I don't come out of my 28 inches.
That's right.
No, we don't come out of character. Like there's your character and then there's your character. We don't come out of character.
Yeah, I don't come out of my 28-inch hair. But then I thought about it and I was like, it would be really, really sweet because she's supposed to be my best friend. And she is mine. You know, this is my bitch. Like
She thought about it.
She fights and I fight. Like, that's how we had been. So,
Girl, you're
my
humble.
baby.
Let me tell you, I didn't complain about nothing the whole time till that scene came. Oh, you could have been Hitler and telling me that you're going to send me into, like, I hate to say that, that's so bad, I should not say that, but it's just like in a joking phrase, like you could have did anything negative and tell me you're going to do all the torture in the world, and I was just like, no. Then what I did, I was just like, okay, everybody has to be gone, nobody can see, like nothing like that. But then I was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta be a trooper, I gotta be a trooper. You only have this one take, and I was just like, ah. I was so not ready for it. For any of that scene, for any of that whole thing. But the thing is, it shows like when people go through anything, any act of unkindness could bring people back together, regardless, because there's always that closeness and that other things that come back together. Like, you know, like there's always that dramatic stuff that happens in life that brings families, that brings people, that brings friends back together.
Yeah.
And it's not important. Like you stop thinking about all the negative, and you just only think about, well, they didn't have to be here at this point in time. They didn't have to do this at this point in time. Why should I be focused only on this? I should be focused on this because this I might not never have again.
Can I ask about the pleasures of the movies? You're so witty. I mean, there's all sorts of humor from the situations, but it seems like, in a sense, maybe some of the experience that trans women have, or in that circumstances, you need wit as an armature in a way, because you're going to presumably face a lot. Can you talk to me about needing to be super quick to maybe, in a sense, defend yourself at times, or what role that plays in your life?
That's a question for you.
I was like, oh sorry, I was just like fixing my skirt just like I've been like in this whole facade of like thinking I'm Carrie Bradshaw and running in a closet and come back out like she did on part 1 of Sex and the City. Just kidding.
When you're going through everything that these girls went through in the film, you have to be positive all the time. And I personally had went through a pretty hard life ever since I was 18 all the way up to 23, and I'm 24 now. And I just feel like you have to have fun. Like, you can't let it get the best of you. So all the personality that's inside the movie is actually how we really, really are. It's just for this interview, you have to present yourself in a certain way.
She just gave you the best answer. Oh crap.
No, sorry, continue.
Okay, answer that question. When people live a certain lifestyle, like these girls, and the way that they live in that environment and that area, when you have so much negativity, you have nothing else to have but humor.
Exactly.
If you have nothing but drama in your life, you have nothing else to do but to always smile. And people don't realize that. So these girls, that humor and that stuff comes from, why complain? Just make joy. And I think that that's what we also conveyed. It's just by being trans women, just by being women of color, just by being any type of ostracized cast of a norm from the rest of the world, you have nothing else to do but to make joy out of what you want to do. And that's why I think that's where it comes from at the end of the day.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please.
Wishing everyone.
Just sign the front of it?
Yeah. I love that scene when you're pulling the girl down the street.
Really?
That really happened.
I know.
I love Michael, the girl who,